quorum present, I'd like to call this meeting of the Co-op Budget Committee to order at 6:39 PM. This is a regular meeting for the Co-op Budget Committee for the month of June, with the agenda posted in advance of the meeting as necessary. I'll introduce myself, Darlene Mann, and the Budget Committee members who are present for this evening's meeting, which include Tony Stinizzi, Raul Blanchet, and Tom Solon. Brian Rader, Dave Blinn, Matt McGuire, and Tom Whalen all have excused absences this evening. And I'd like to welcome our BA Kelly Seeley and our Facilities Director Lance Finnemore to tonight's meeting. If you could all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll just note, we pledge to where the flag usually is because it's been removed after the end of the school year. So there you go.
Our flag.
Okay. Really thought I opened the agenda before I got here. There we go. I'll ask at this time for any agenda adjustments. Seeing none, we'll appoint Raul as the meeting observer and move on to the approval of minutes for the May meeting. At this time, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of the May meeting as written.
Can I have a comment? Can I make a comment before you do that?
Sure.
I started reviewing the meeting minutes, and there were at least half a dozen track changes that I made, but I didn't get a chance to complete the review.
Okay.
So my question is, what is the process for, can we accept them as amended? And then also make the changes tomorrow? Or
we could just
how should
we could
do
just hold off on bringing them forward and bring them up in August, if
Okay.
everybody's okay with that. Sure. Because there are a few changes. Were they significant changes or just
They were very minor,
minor?
but there were
And you
more
didn't
than one or two of them.
And you didn't get to review the other half.
That's
of the
correct.
minutes, so you could always,
I'm fine with
okay, we'll hold off then on the minutes until August. So we'll hold the May minutes.
Thank you.
Sure. There's no public this evening, so we'll go right on through public input and move on to we have three main topics on our general business section of the agenda this evening, which are a facilities overview and a financial and school board update. So kind of in keeping with the pattern of, bringing up some topics that we don't typically address during the normal budget season, we've used June as the opportunity to do the facilities overview. So at this time, I'll again welcome Lance to our meeting this evening, and we'll look forward to your overview that I shared with everybody in advance, but we do have it for viewing this evening.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's good to see all of you again. Thank you for having me tonight. Basically, I'm here to give you an overview of our facilities in the co-op, and more so of our facility improvement plan, capital improvement plan going forward over the next, I think we did it out 5 years, the next fiscal 5 years, 5 or 6 years, I'll see in a sec. We make this plan and this presentation tonight to inform all of you of our hopeful plans for the future. A lot of them are, I won't say dreams, but a lot of them are goals that we want to achieve in the next 5-6 years. A lot of them are things that we should be doing in that time frame, and some of them are goals that I want to hopefully achieve. I understand not everything may be obtained, but that's something that we've discussed as an SAU team, and that is what I'm here to talk about. So in this presentation, there are longer term goals and there are short-term priorities, and I will get into those, of course. What we evaluate, a lot of these projects are based off of our facility audit tool, with, of course, consultation with our team. That is building administration, superintendent, SAU team, a lot of outside vendors that have done work in our buildings, of course, my team, our facilities team. It comes from a lot of different people, and, I mean, I think that's the best way to do things. It's not coming directly from me, it's not coming directly from the superintendent. Ideas are put forth, and I always try to get, multiple opinions. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm the smartest person alive, and I think this should be done. I ask a lot of different people, and, generally, it seems like a good idea. Kelly would be the first one to tell me if it's a terrible idea, and I'm very grateful for Kelly, for that very reason. But there's few of those, very few. So when I talk about the facility audit tool, we hand these out annually to our building supervisors. They are the day shift personnel in the facilities department. They are pretty much the, day shift custodian, for lack of a better term. They're there in the heat of the moment, day in and day out with all the students, building occupants. They're my eyes and ears during the day in each building, because unfortunately I can't be every single, I can't be everywhere in every building, as much as I'd love to be, or not love to be. So I rely on them heavily to, bring up topics that may not be caught. Again, I'm not perfect, so I rely on them heavily. So we give them the facility audit tool, and they fill it out. I've included this year a facility audit tool from our high school, HBHS, and it's just, you can see in there, there's a grading criteria. I take this from the building supervisor, and I go over it, and again, they're not the end-all be-all. We have a system of checks and balances, for lack of better terms. I take it, at my opinion, get others' opinions, and we go forward with the facility audit tool and deem what is, a priority, what's not a priority. A lot of things have been addressed in the past, and if they're not up to par with our grading scale, then we visit those, and, we came up with a game plan to go forward in dealing with those issues. Co-op is, HBMS, HBHS, they're in really good shape. I can say that confidently, because I go around to other schools, I see a lot of other schools, and I'm very confident in the condition of our buildings. There's no other way to say it. So with that being said, our middle school areas are concerned. HVAC, there is aging HVAC infrastructure here. Rooftop units, they are, approaching end of life. We're not quite there yet, but in relation to HBHS had a great project last year, replaced 6 rooftop units. So in contrast, the middle school is lacking in that area. Cut and dry there. Ductwork cleaning is always concerned. We're trying to put that on a cycle going forward. Air quality concerns, whatnot. Electrical, we're looking at interior lighting for NPR. There's been a lot of discussion there with it being replaced in the past, where that is a venue we want to go, an avenue we want to go down. We do have some old electrical panels that do come up year after year. I've noticed that since I've been here, so that is on there. There's plumbing issues just in the old wing with fixtures. I shouldn't say issues. There are a few aging sinks, faucet wall units that are out of date. Building and grounds, we're going to start really seriously, tackling the roof sections in the middle school. Again, in contrast with the high school, we're almost done. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But now we need to focus on the middle school roof sections, because they are aging in relation to HBHS. Classroom flooring, we're very lucky in the middle school. Not that we're not lucky in every school, but we have a great crew. And the flooring concerns aren't that, great here, but they are aged, tiles. But we do a great job with making them look great. So we are going to reevaluate our classroom flooring because it has, it is aged. This wing is almost, 30-plus years. So we're going to look at that. Paving as well. Again, we consult with our team. Mr. West is always great with letting me know his concerns. Paving is one. Furniture is on there as well. Exterior door replacement. Just aging. Most of the stuff is aging in concern. That's the concern area. Safety, we're looking at our main office security renovation, just like we did at HBHS going forward. Our high school area is concerned. HVAC is our remaining HVAC equipment. I don't want to seem like a broken record, even though it was said we did a great project last year. There are still units that were already air conditioning, so we didn't tackle those. We wanted to get as much as the building done, as much as the building on cooling as we could. That was our main concern, so we didn't want to tackle areas that already had air conditioning, main office, guidance, computer labs, and whatnot. So those units are on the on our radar. As well, ductwork cleaning. We did clean all the reheat coils this year. That made the dehumidification units even more efficient. I won't go deeply into that, but we were at this past summer when we first did it. When we first did the implementation of the dehumidification units, we had that building well below 68 degrees, and they were like high 80 to 90 degree days, and then we cleaned the reheat coils, and it was ice cold in there, much to the chagrin of many teachers who don't like the cold. But HVAC hot water pumps, we did not touch those in the project last summer, so those are on there.
Can I just,
Yeah.
John, is there
Sure.
any reason that boilers are not on this in the context of what came up last year?
Yep. I didn't put it on this area because that is not part of the facility audit tool. We don't really, that's a bigger project. So when we do the facility audit tool, that's kind of a guideline of what we're doing that isn't, a bigger project. So they know that, that's a bigger issue where it's already on there, so we don't really add it to facility audit tool.
Okay.
We could. I mean, that's a great point. It can absolutely be on here, but I will discuss that later. Electrical LED lights, we're going to look at that in the coming future as well. Remaining exterior wall lighting on the exterior, we replaced a good number on the outside auditorium and gymnasium. No, just the auditorium this year, so we're going to look at that as well. Safety, we're looking at the rear entry security. That has come up in the past. Again, Mr. Gazon's great at letting me know if there are issues and what he sees as his vision versus what I see, or the SAU. So that is one of those where Mr. Gazon's been integral in bringing that to the forefront. The elevator is aging. We instead of replacing the elevator, altogether, we've come up with a game plan to retrofit, renovate the elevator. Albeit it is expensive, it's not as expensive as replacing it completely. Emergency egress is always an issue. Exterior doors aging as well. Building and grounds, I don't know why I put interior doors here, but that should go with safety as well. But building and grounds, remaining roof sections, we have, ideally after August, we will have 2 sections left, the mini gym and the cafeteria. Those are our only remaining roof sections, and then they will all be good to go for ideally the next 30 years. That's my hope. Student parking lot has always been a hot topic with paving. We're going to look at that as well. And the same thing with the middle school, the flooring of the high school is approaching almost 30 years. So we're going to look at that as well. And kitchen equipment repairs, we're currently undergoing kitchen repairs, and we're going to look at that as well. So, like I said previously, the summer project last year was part of our capital improvement plan, our energy vision, energy savings into the future. Phase 1 was the last summer, and we completed that this year. I would like to think it was well received. I joke oftenly that up until even this day, it never really got hot this spring, the end of the school year, so it may have been overkill, but we know if it's going to be 90 degrees in there, that building would be comfortable. So, I mean, other teachers have come to this district and, they've told me, this building, is great, but I've always worked in schools that have air conditioning, dehumidification, whatever it is. So it's nice to hear that, and hopefully we can move forward in other buildings with that same implementation. So our phase 2 plans, again, includes LED lighting, replacing other end-of-life equipment that is aging, and it also incorporates enrollment challenges that may come up in the next few years, 2, 5, 10 years down the road. HBHS is a good-sized high school, but it's kind of small in comparison to other high schools in the area, albeit Nashua, other towns. So there is room for improvement there as well. So non-energy related issues. This is our capital improvement plan. I'm going to try to go over it quickly. Sorry if I'm talking too much here. So what we do here is it's a capital improvement plan on paper. We try to go over it a few times a year, but we absolutely do it annually. But we do it a few times a year because things do come up, and you got to change with everything that goes on. And I'm constantly thinking of how we can do things better and how to make everyone's life easier, and those changes that I think of like to incorporate into these plans. So these are just the rough numbers going forward the next 6 years. Pretty self-explanatory. With those numbers, like I said, a lot of the items on this capital improvement plan are, I like to say, necessities. Some are need to have, some are nice to have. I by no means know that not all of these items are going to go through.
So just to clarify for FY '25, which is what we'd be looking at in the fall as we get into the next budget cycle, that excludes any of the larger initiatives like that Tom was referencing with regard to the boilers and things like that. And that is the 1.567 is related to the capital improvement plan, and more of those kind of the issues that you mentioned, like the safety, security, the doors, the light,
Yep.
things like that.
I believe we included that.
No, we do have 350,000 in there for the oil pipes in case.
Right,
I
in
mean,
ca-
that's
okay.
that's kind of the minimum.
The minimum,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so back to Tom's question, when I say it's not included, they don't include in the facility audit tool because they know that's our greater plan, like they're aware of it. It's kind of like the elephant in the room.
But, and it's part of that larger, like, energy and enrollment plan.
It has become, yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then
become
that, like
yeah.
the 350, like Kelly just said, is kind of that baseline, like if nothing were to
Right.
be done on that, we would have to
Right.
cover the 350,
We
which
have
is
to do that
included in
next
the
summer.
1.5.
Yeah, there's no choice.
Okay,
Yeah, it's like a plan B, but it's the only plan.
yeah.
now.
Whenever you're ready, I have a couple of questions.
Okay. Do you mind if it, wait till the end?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm willing, I'll answer all your questions, hopefully. So these are the totals, year by year. So I tried to organize them the best I could. So I put them into groups where I think they fit together. The first group is furniture. It's very easy to say we need this now, my furniture is old and whatnot. But a lot of people, a lot of staff, may bring it forward, very late or, the day before they want, they ask, whatever it may be. So like this is kind of fluid, the furniture is very fluid. We can identify what we can identify, but, that's the nature of the beast with furniture, it's kind of difficult. The next category is flooring, again, like I said, aging flooring, so we're gonna look at that, in the future. We're gonna tackle it, you know, not high traffic areas, but highly needed areas.
Is all the asbestos gone?
In the middle school, yes, any visible asbestos is removed. The next category is painting. That's always on there, just because we like to freshen up all the buildings. Next category is doors, like I mentioned, interior, exterior doors, just from aging infrastructure. A lot of the original doors to the high school, middle school have aging doors. Ceiling,
How many doors does $3,000 represent?
roughly about 3 or 4. So I mean, we're not going after, a lot of doors. It's a phased approach. I'd love to do all the doors at one time, but the ceiling, we're talking about replacing ceiling grids here. A lot of the ceiling tiles are original to the high school. In the middle school, we're a lot better off, but the older section, we're going to try to tackle that. Duct cleaning, again, I'm not, these numbers aren't solidified to me, again, I just want to stress that. They can move, but at this time, that's where we have it. I don't know if the high school duct cleaning is gonna, if we can put it off that far. I go back and forth on that one, so that's a good one where it may move up. I don't think it's gonna move down. But the middle school is a priority because we've done no duct cleaning since I've been here. I'd like to put it on a 5-year cycle, possibly even put that on a 3-year cycle going forward. But we gotta hit it first, get it on the books and, do it, and then come up with a game plan. The next 4 auditorium improvements. This is just to improve our auditorium, keep it safe, and make it a better place for the students. Matt runs Mr. Barbosa runs a great program up there, and he's identified these issues. And auditorium lighting is LED lighting. LED saves a tremendous amount of energy and usage, especially with the auditorium. Some of those lights are, we were told last week or this week, they use a lot of energy, electricity. So that is on there. Next category is security, like I discussed. Main office security here, rear entry security at the high school. That also includes main office configurations. Again, these are identified by multiple parties, and we include it all in the capital improvement plan. Next one, elevator HVAC upgrades, you know, here and there, upgrade controls. Again, I wish we get it all, but if we're handed, you know, the money we're handed, we could do so much, and sometimes that kind of overfills to the next year or whatnot. And that's what HVAC upgrades there is. Again, we have the high school, middle school, I think piping. Like this, like Kelly said, this is a Plan B. If whatever the future holds, let's just say that. We could discuss it more if you have questions. I am happy to discuss. Next is electrical/security. High school security, we are currently upgrading that alarm panel. Again, the middle school electrical panels, you know, they're aging, some of them, not all of them. We've done a lot of great electrical upgrades here. The control upgrades, that is just security access. Just because the security access control system we have currently has been here before my time, I just put that on there because I think it's a great idea to get us to where we need to be in the future. Radio systems, this has been, you know, the topic of discussion for a long time. If we had an SAU-wide radio system, we could talk to all schools, all 6 schools, all 7 buildings. It would be a phenomenal implementation. There's no way around it. I mean, principals could talk to principals, you know, drop of a dime.
Is there any opportunity with some of the grants that are coming forward? I mean, I think the first round of like safety and security grants was focused more on like
Access
visitation systems and things like that. But I think there's a second round.
Right, and we did apply during the first round
Yeah.
and was turned down because of the focus. We also have applied through a federal grant. We just sent that in last month, I believe. So we're waiting to hear on that. So we put it in the budget in case we get nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, if there's a round 2, we'll definitely try again.
What is what do you envision in that radio system?
That is, every teacher has a radio. from
Every
what I-
staff member has
Every
a
staff
radio.
member has a radio, from
Has-
what I
yeah.
recall. I mean, this was discussed the last year. Every staff member has a radio. SAU personnel, depending on depending on the position, have a radio. It is a direct line to police and fire in Hollis and Brookline as well. They're all on they're not on the same channel, of course, but they're on a, say the police are on channel 1, we would be on channel 2, so it's, flick of the dial on the radio. It'll be direct line, which is a great selling point. And I know police and fire have been supportive of this system. And it's kind of moved, quicker because of their support, I think. But with the radio systems we have now, it's per building basis. So I like to say, they've got the, cheaper Motorola walkies that you would have. Sometimes you see them at theme parks with families, they'll carry them, And it's only good for building.
Those on the FRS system?
I don't know what they're on, but they're.
No, I don't think so.
They're not you can't broadcast to the police or fire or anything like that.
No.
It's per building, they're on their own separate.
So what is actually the device used? A cell phone?
For the radio system?
Yeah.
No, it's actually Motorola as well, but these are, Motorola units that you would see from like police and fire almost. Not that intricate. They're
It's a
not that.
handheld two-way radio.
Right, it's handheld radio.
I wonder if that's old technology, and that's kind of a lot of money for old technology.
I'm
I'm
not
just-
sure it's old.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's.
We're getting this from the police and fire,
Right.
so,
Yeah, so it like links all the buildings
I think
and
we're
links
just
them to police and
seeing
fire
yes.
as
The fact
well.
that there's couple of hundred of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of units.
Yeah, there's a lot of units, yeah.
Take all the teachers, all the administrators, other staff members, it's just huge numbers.
Yeah, it is.
That's why.
Is that something that there's going to be a proposal, an actual proposal coming forward on it?
Well, I assume we will. It kind of depends on the grants. I don't know when we hear. There was never any notice about when you get to know whether you got the federal grant
No,
or
I'm just
not.
talking about just the idea of
Oh, we
wanting
certainly
it.
can.
It's never been, I have never heard of it before.
Right, okay. Yeah, we've been talking with the fire and police a lot. So, hoping to get the grant, so we didn't have to put it through the budget system or process. But yeah, I think it's probably time to,
I'm thinking more fundamentally, philosophically, whether or not there is full support for every teacher.
well, in most of our schools, maybe not the high school, but I would say the other schools, they all have walkie-talkies.
Really?
So they're already using them, especially the elementaries. The elementaries are very good at using them. So I don't think there's gonna be an opposition to the elementaries, of course not. Maybe the high school, but I don't think so. My gut tells me that this is a safety issue, so I think more and more people wanna be safe, yeah.
There are two questions with it. Should we have it or not? And if the answer is yes, then what is the best device and the best way to implement it?
Right, and that's why we're leaning on our police and fire.
Right.
They're the ones that brought this to us in the first place, and they are pushing us. In fact, they're like, when are you gonna get it? So it's not for lack of trying, we're trying, but this is all coming from them.
So are they helping when trying to obtain funds or subsidies?
Absolutely, they helped me with that federal grant tremendously, so.
Yeah.
I get a little nervous about that fact because of some of the, I don't know that's going on in Hollis, but I know in some neighboring communities, there's a lot of political activity around radio upgrades and justifying the need to spend millions of dollars on communication centers being driven by the volume of traffic that has to go over those lines. And I think it's something we need to understand before assuming that it's a done deal.
Sure. I mean, it might be better to have the presentation come from the emergency management people, because
Yeah,
they,
whoever's
Yeah.
driving it, but I do think that an expenditure of that size, whether it's coming through grant money or not, justifies, warrants some level of awareness and comprehension.
okay, sure, I will make sure we have that on a future agenda.
I totally agree with that.
The state does have a chief of emergency services in Concord,
Yes,
and I know that's,
I mean,
Here,
the
here,
application
there,
is
but-
obvious. I mean, what you
They
think about
probably
as to why
have-
we would do something like that.
someone you could speak to, them, they could come and speak to a group of people.
Let me
and
know
see
when
what
I
they
can ask
recommend.
you all those
Raoul.
questions.
She's on top
Hold on.
of all that stuff.
We-
What's a good school look like?
You're
You
just
know,
way
what's a
too
safe
polite,
school
Raoul.
look like?
sure. I mean, we could
I appreciate
absolutely
you
have a
waiting.
state person come if they will come, but in our two towns, they both have an emergency operations director, and that's who's been helping us, and they are plugged into the state. So, I mean, I think they're probably more likely to come and speak to us than a state person. We don't always have luck with that, so,
Depends on who you know.
yeah, I certainly don't know
The
those people.
reason I'm saying that, I'm thinking about that, is that try to get the person at the highest level possible. Because
Sure,
they
to
have the most
add
credibility,
credibility, yeah.
and they have a lot of experience.
Sure, no, I think that's a great idea, if we can get them.
Yeah, I mean, it came about because if all schools, if not all, a lot of them, I see them in every school, have these little radios. So it comes up every year, Kelly knows, like, they budget for a new radio system. and we say, okay, how much does that cost? And it's, some astronomical cost. And we saw it in multiple years, so we started asking the question, okay, well, if you buy a new radio system, does that communicate with, I'll just use the two, I was gonna use two schools in Brookline, but yes, it's usually two schools in Brookline. They're far enough away where it was a question of, can we communicate to each other? Hughes and HPS, they're right next to each other. That's not an issue. They can hear each other. Came up over here, HBMS and HBHS. Can you guys hear? And depending where you are in this building, you can hear people, staff members here in HBHS, but they have to be standing in a certain type of certain area of the building. Get into boosters, all that, but that's an increased cost. So I don't remember who brought up the question, but why don't we look at an SAU-wide radio system? And police and fire were like, yep, you can do it. And Rick Todd at communications said, yep, I can get you in contact with whoever we need to get, and Dean and Hollis, and Dave and Brookline, emergency managers, they were all on board. So we thought, why don't we tackle it all together, and then we get what we want, which is we can all communicate with everybody. Because at the end of the day, the schools do use the radios, and it's not primarily a safety issue. I see a lot of issues just from being in the buildings. It's special needs, special ed. Events come up, and the quickest way to get a hold of somebody is that radio. I see it all the time. Even facilities. We got a spill. They hit the radio. So they use them. I see them use them because I've used radios in my past, and dare I say it, they probably use their radios more than police at this point. I don't know. They use them a lot during the day, especially if there are those issues. So this wasn't just, we didn't just throw this on you.
But
It's been a long time
here's the
coming.
point, if you're looking at school security issues,
Mhm.
to me, it's more than a radio. We have cameras in the halls, because seeing
Just believe
what's
me.
going on, if someone reports something and you wanna look and see how many people in the corridor, why aren't the corridors clear, whatever.
Right.
Believe me, I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about this area.
Mhm.
But I've often thought that cheap hotels have better security than most schools. And you go into a cheap hotel and you have cameras, you go into a supermarket, you have cameras. Go into a casino, the cameras all over the place, the people with radios and the people and the cameras surveillance. So I would look at it from a holistic approach. What is a secure school, first of all? What do we have to do to get there? How far do we want to go with the cost of making a school very secure?
And I will
Great
say
point,
that
yeah.
the Homeland Security people come every 3 years to evaluate at each school, and they produce a report, and we've done many of the things that we're doing based on that report, and radios is one of their recommendations.
Yeah, because, and part of that plan is to develop very school-specific plans.
Yes.
Depending
Yeah,
on
we've made
the
a lot of
organization of the
improvements,
schools
yeah.
and things like that. And a lot of the things we've implemented are
Yes.
because of those Homeland Security
Yep.
audits and things like that.
Alrighty, the next topic is water. And my middle school water system study is always on here, because we're on Rocky Pond, in Hollis. Ideally, one day, I would like to get away from that and have a well, or wells here, much like we have at HBHS. High school water tank filtration is currently, we're gonna put a new filtration system in there this year.
Are those cumulative amounts, or are they placeholders in each year, not knowing which year it's gonna hit?
Correct, that's almost a phased approach as well, 250 each year. We're guesstimating that will be the cost of implementation of
For just a study?
the study as well as implementation. That's our plan, going forward.
When you say implementation, what
Right.
are you implementing?
So the study is to ideally study the well system, how that works, what it looks like, and then the current years after that, FY28, FY29, incorporating that money into implementing it.
So that's
it's
actually creating wells and a standalone supply independent
Pump
of the Rocky
house,
Pond?
day tank off of Rocky Pond. So it wouldn't be on Rocky Pond at all.
But
Right.
so it'd be independent of the Hollis system that we now manage.
Correct.
Yeah, that's one of the options. There are other options. One option is to stay the way we are and just replace all of the pipes and structure of that. That's another option. So
Okay.
we're anticipating, though, that whatever option happens, it's not gonna be cheap.
So that cost, this is just a suggestion, I don't know how much you publicize this, but, take out the word study.
Right, that's, yeah, that is study slash, implementation.
I would just call it middle school water system.
Sure.
Because what you've said is it's an all-encompassing.
Right,
there's a
it is,
study there.
right.
So it's just
Yep, good point.
fix it.
100%. Because right now, like Kelly said, we're running off of Rocky Pond, which is over there. I mean, we're talking maybe a mile or two away.
I don't know, were you here when they were plugging all the leaks or finding
No,
the leaks?
no, thankfully I was not. But I've heard all the horror stories, so that's what makes me worry. You got FY '24, '27 in there. I'm hoping something doesn't happen again like that in the next 3 years.
I think that's why we lost Bob Thompson.
I've talked to some of the neighbors. That it's like the Hollis pipeline. It's like the Keystone pipeline in this town. It's like it goes way over there and it feeds everyone over here. It's scary, like what you said. Hopefully I don't want to live through that. I always think worst case, but that seemed like a nightmare. So yes, I'll knock on wood. Next category is roofing, soffits here at the middle school. Like I said, middle school roof sections, that most likely will change, depending on how we want to attack that. High school roofing, like I said,
So the 110 is what we have already done?
No, that's what
110
we're
is
doing this summer.
year.
Oh, it's happening.
This is,
So you're doing that, are you doing that?
yeah, you have to ask me, that is the gym roof we're doing.
Okay. No, I was just thinking, I'm getting confused with what year we're in. I was thinking we're in 24 now.
Well,
Just
we kind
about.
of are.
Not for another,
Just
no, I mean,
about.
I thought we were,
So,
24 and
how much did we do
8
this
days.
year?
In '23?
Yeah.
We actually didn't do anything this year because of all of the rooftop units. We just couldn't make that work out. So we're doing that section that was FY '23 and this one this summer.
Got it.
Yeah, I call it the newer wing, the science wing, on the north side of the building. And the 110 is the gymnasium roof. The 80 is the mini gym roof, and the 40 is that remaining cafeteria. It's a little tiny strip. It's a long, tiny strip. And then we'll be on the roofs. Like I said, hopefully for the next 30 years.
what's making that noise?
He just knocked.
It's just not.
He said hopefully.
He's knocking on wood.
I'm superstitious.
Keep
sometimes.
knocking.
Next is lighting. We have to look at the turf lot lighting. We paved a lot last summer. So we didn't really tackle lighting, so we're gonna look at that.
Is that parking lot lighting, not the turf?
Yeah. Right,
No,
that's
no,
for the
sorry,
parking
yeah.
lot, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't wanna, I try not to put too many words in here.
No, I
Yeah.
missed it. I saw it.
Yeah, no, it's the parking lot, right where the scoreboard is.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to.
I was
do
thinking
something.
turf field.
No.
Turf-
Oh, yeah, no, I don't wanna touch those. Those are good. Next is paving. We have all the paving here. Paving and exterior projects.
Is the student lot the whole back lot you're talking about there?
Correct. That big
Yep.
behemoth of a lot, which we've gotten multiple quotes over the years, some ranging from 260 to 320.
Does that include filling the areas of sinkholes in it too, do you think?
Yes, we would level and grade that before we did that. If we just, went over it and overfilled it, it's just, it would be a lot cheaper, yes. Generally, from my experience, if you do that, you're opening yourself up to sinkholes and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I just
Quickly.
was hopeful that your
Yeah.
answer was yes.
Yes, it is, yeah. Ripping, I call it gripping or ripping, rip it all up. So, I mean, I don't wanna go through these, point by point, cause I know Raul has questions, and, I wanna get to those. He's waiting patiently over there. Next is my favorite section. This is my favorite section. This is the facility section. I'm sure Raul has 15 questions about this section, hopefully. So facility shed is on here. I will just explain it. The 5,000 is for a study, design, and the 250,000 is the construction, implementation of a facility shed. When I say facility shed, I am referring to a structure anywhere from 1,000 square feet to 25,000 square feet. Much like a highway department DOT shed, that is what I envision this structure being. I believe it solves two critical areas of need for co-op, the entire SAU, which is storage. We have a limited amount of storage in the buildings. It becomes an increasing issue every year. We've done the best we can with finding solutions to that.
So you mean storage like for just maintenance equipment or
Nope.
like athletic equipment, things like that?
Well,
As in
athletic.
addition, or?
Yep. I'm thinking, realistically, half and half. Maintenance equipment versus furniture. Just not to be current, but we, a lot of the schools have ceremonies, promotions, awards, whatever it is. And, HBHS has an auditorium. They're lucky. Not every school does. So chairs get moved around a lot. And everyone always says, why don't you just buy chairs for the schools? I go, I would love to, but where am I going to put them? Because a lot of people want a lot of chairs. So something like that would be an easy fix. Keep the chairs there, be done with it. Furniture that moves in and out. Furniture needs that schools only require certain times of the year, whatever it may be. Athletics, it's a great point. Whatever it may be. That solves a huge storage issue. But I'm not gonna lie, plans going forward, just my vision for the facilities department is what I'm going to discuss right now. And that is, other neighboring districts have a lot more than we have. And that kind of ties into what I've been trying to do here. And, the staff that I have, I always try to encourage them to, instead of calling a vendor, not that they would or wouldn't, let's try to tackle the issue head on. Let's troubleshoot. Everyone's here for a reason. We're trying to do the best we can. We're trying to find solutions, problem solve the best you can and come up with a fix before we do the ultimate fix, which is called a vendor, and 9 times out of 10, we can come up with a solution. There's gonna be those times that we can't, and we gotta call in somebody that can. Whether that may, if it's a money issue, if it's, uncomfortable with doing whatever it is. But myself, Ben, my facility specialist, we put our heads together and like I said, 9 times out of 10, we can come up with a solution that saves the district money. Again, currently, we're in the gym down here, and I won't get too deep into it, but we came up with a solution when we thought our backs were against the wall and, saved us a ton of money. So I think this facility shed, albeit with my future plans for the department, will save us in the long run. And I'm going to work on that in the future with what that looks like on paper. I can absolutely do that. But it's it's the intangibles, it's the little stuff that adds up very quickly that we can take care of ourselves that, not everyone sees.
How big are you expecting that facility shed to be?
From 1,000 square feet to 25,000. Whatever that number gets us, honestly,
$250,000 not gonna give you 25,000 square feet.
well, right, so that range is 1 to 25,000. I've worked miracles in the past, so I'm not
That's
I'm
what the
not gonna
five-
lose hope.
That's what the 5,000 is for, to determine the next number.
Exactly.
Correct,
5,000
100%.
is for a shed. 250,000 is for a warehouse.
No, right, yes, no, I totally agree. And, you know, do we need that? I'm not gonna say no. But that's the range I have in my
I'd say
mind.
$250,000 is only
Doesn't buy you
about,
much, is it?
that's only about 5,000 square feet.
That,
I've worked miracles,
All right, well, we
I'm
can,
optimistic.
there'll be a
Um,
plan, so.
Yeah, and that
I
is,
figured half the cost of the residential is like 50,000.
I'm not gonna tell you what my barn cost, but my barn was 3,000 square feet and it cost, closer to 300,000 or more.
we don't need the Taj Mahal, so let me make that clear. We're not looking for
I
that.
don't have a Taj Mahal.
Pretty close.
He's got the Taj Mahal.
So I've got to, you know, in the future, I'm gonna make a whole presentation on that, so you don't have to worry about that. But like I said, everything is, you know, some things are dreams. But this is just where I envision the department moving forward. And everything below that is equipment that, again, in the long run, it'll save us time and money.
So let me ask you a quick question, just for
Yeah.
reference.
Uh-huh.
You have somebody plow the schools, but you have your own plow in case of an emergency or in case you have to do something yourself? Or do you plan to take over doing all the plowing?
Well,
Just
see,
one
that's,
plow won't do
that is part of,
It's an evolution.
correct,
Okay,
yes.
I don't
Right.
think that amount there doesn't get you the facilities to do the school. That's.
Correct, that's just one.
That's cleanup at odds and ends.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
You have to start somewhere.
Right.
I just-
Now,
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, quickly on the line striper.
Mhm.
Are there different line striping requirements based on a turf field versus a grass field?
unfortunately, yes. I'm sorry, you say turf field versus grass?
Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that.
like, I don't know, does it, like, does the lining last?
This would
like-
just be for grass.
This would be for
Yep.
grass, because the lines on the turf field are like
I
permanent?
think they're permanent.
Yeah,
Okay,
it should be.
that's kind of where I was going.
That's why I don't know the answer to that. I think that, I mean, since I've been here, we've never done them
Right,
again.
Okay.
So I think they're permanent.
and is that a robotic one?
No. We
That-
start small, very small.
Just checking.
Yeah, I know.
That brings an interesting point, and that is when the athletic field was built with the artificial turf, I think as I recall, the longevity of that turf was gonna be 10 to 12 years.
Oh, we're getting there,
I'm
don't
worried.
worry.
we're
That'll be
ready.
like probably the
Oh,
next, you know,
okay, all
add
right.
5 years onto this, and
Yes.
you're gonna see it come back around.
Yeah,
So,
I was gonna say, we're
It's on-
almost there now.
yeah,
I think
It's
I
on the
remember.
radar.
it's
Huh?
gonna be in the window
I
shortly,
remember
so.
the bond was a longer term than the useful life of the field. How many year bond was that?
I-
20-year?
No, I
we
don't,
looked
no,
at
we
10
didn't
and
go
a
with
15.
20 for the
Right.
turf. We didn't go with 20, for that exact reason.
Yeah.
So I thought it was actually 10,
I think it
Well-
might be 10
What, the bond?
yeah.
for the
Legally,
turf
But
field.
but as far as the longevity of it, there's a difference between what they'll commit to and what they believe that we can get out of it with both proper maintenance and because we have a relatively cooler climate. So,
Yeah, we manage it, mm-hmm.
Right, but, okay, the point I was making is pretty soon we're gonna have to start planning for it,
Right, it's on the radar,
Yeah.
just hasn't made it to
Oh,
the.
hasn't
Yeah.
made it on the next sheet, okay, all right, oh, I mean, the scale, all
but
right.
part of the theory behind that was with a shorter bond, is that when the bond ends, you can still have level funding and start accumulating money for the refurbishment.
We could, yeah.
And then the
Okay.
maintenance trades position, so that's not like an interior custodial necessarily. It's, it manages,
Is that a partial cost and it's being shared among the various districts?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more of a HVAC, electrical / plumbing,
Sort
tradesman.
of our
So it's
resident
like a license.
expert, if you will.
Yep. Again, everything on this page is, like I said, for the long run, evolution of, bringing stuff in-house. What that looks like, is debatable. But in the long run, things that I've observed in the last 3 years since I've been here, that have cost us money in the long run. You can say, well, why don't you just rent a scissor lift, $700 at a time adds up very quickly, and we get use out of it in multiple ways.
Right, and the purchase of the trailer allows us to take it to other districts, and they would pay a portion of it, or a service fee or something. We have a lot of work that could be done in Hollis and Brookline, but we don't want to buy a scissor lift, and so we rent them if it's necessary, but we could do a lot with the new scissor lift, with the trailer.
Is it fair to assume that the budget we're going to be working on this year is FY '25?
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
So the stuff in the FY '25 column, is that a fairly solid both number and timing, or is
No,
that?
we use ballpark figures for this, and as Darlene will tell you, we shift. We do a lot of shifting.
No, but I mean, is this what you think is gonna come in for the first pass?
Absolutely.
So this is an initial WAG.
Yeah, this is our round one. And just
I will tell you though, everything on this page is very accurate.
Because one of the questions I was gonna ask is, there are a few little things you can do to this table to make it much easily readable and acceptable.
Okay.
For example, if you have some justification in writing behind the number, then bold it, for example. That way we have a clear understanding that you have some.
Okay, I think for purposes of what we're doing here, it is really just to give us that kind of overview. I wouldn't be looking for more.
No, but for example, for the FY '24, that's already been passed by a budget, right?
It has.
Yes.
And the numbers, so therefore, those numbers are not even arguable anymore.
No.
Right.
So therefore, don't even put them there.
No,
or just
I
separate them
want
from the others to let me know that those are already.
See, I want to see them there because I need the reminder of what we
Right, that's
we
fine.
just
No, I guess
approved.
what I'm saying is
And
for
plus we're
someone
doing
who's
this
never
year.
seen the table before, there are very few little things you can do to make it more readable and acceptable right off the bat.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. I'm
Okay.
not challenging anything, okay?
No, I understand.
It's a good point, like Ro, like fiscal '24, like me and Kelly know, like as soon as
That-
July 1st hits
If
next
this
week.
is gonna be make it to the public by way of an attachment to the meeting minutes, we need to make it more acceptable. People are not experts at all of this.
Okay,
right?
I just want to say, I appreciate that, given the time of year that we're looking at this, the time and effort that goes into putting this together, and I think, while I understand the point you're trying to make, I think for this time of year where we are, other than maybe bolding the FY '25 column or putting a yellow highlight or something, saying that's where your attention is for the next budget cycle, that's really all I'd be looking for, because this is really directional, gives us an idea of, the more immediate things that we'll be looking at, and it gets fleshed out as we work through the budget
Absolutely.
Right.
system, so, the budget process. So I don't want, I'm sure a lot of effort that goes into it as is, and just, it's meant to be an overview and give us an idea of the direction of where we're going and what
I
we're looking
understand.
for.
If that's the case, then I would like to see a little, one sentence on the capital improvement plan that explains the purpose of this table and the fact that it is an initial estimate, just to create a sense of the scope of what we may be asking the taxpayers to pay in the future. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Those little explanations for the taxpayer community to be transparent about it and understand what this is all about needs to be added to the table. That's all I'm saying. The table needs to stand on its own. And I have other comments about what I would do, but I don't
Almost
want to
done.
bring it up because that may, this is an initial estimate.
It is a good point, because I take it for granted, like, I know fiscal '24, starts in 8 days for me. So that's like, I'm gonna hit the ground running. but, you know, the average person probably doesn't.
I mean,
So, it's a good point.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we can make it more, you know, easier to understand.
and no, I'm not saying that you have done this, but in some cases, your estimate is more accurate than in other cases.
True.
So therefore, give me an idea that your guess in this one is pretty good versus in this one is really rough. You know what I'm saying? So there are little things you can do, maybe coloring, maybe bolding. I'm not telling you to do anything different, but at least give me a sense of that not everything is the same. You know, where there's different context for all these things. Just like the example of the where you had the $250,000. You know, that question. So I'm just saying. I mean, I appreciate the effort, but if we have a responsibility to the public to make sure that it's understood. Otherwise, it could be confusing.
No, I think it's great feedback, and it's a great tool for us to come here and get your opinion, because we take it for granted that, I do anyway, I don't want to speak for Kelly, but it's, you know, fiscal years, and like right now, like we have 8 days left of 23. In
Right.
9 days, we're in 24. It's a whole different ballgame, but the average person may not know that, so it is a good point. Thank you. In closing,
Sorry.
you know, further discussion areas, we need to look at, energy efficient initiatives, LED, wherever we can, in the future. And Hollis is a great example, we've done a lot over there. We're trying to take that, I should have said that earlier, take that and use it in other buildings. What that looks like, we don't know. So it's a good segue to the oil tank piping versus new boilers. I put propane versus alternative fuels. It's been discussion for the last while, let's say.
The board did approve the formation of the committee last night.
Oh, perfect.
Right.
Perfect.
Thanks for bringing that up, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'll just speak briefly on that. I mean,
Here we go.
everything that we get, this happens, you know, scenario A happens, you know, in this specific scenario, you know, we have annual oil tank inspections. So our vendor who we trust, he knows what he's doing. He's done a gazillion different petroleum, you know, stations. He does all those, not all of them, but he does a lot of different, you know, gas stations, because they have a lot of underground tanks like we do. Of course, that's petroleum versus oil, but he does a lot of different, he has a lot of different clients throughout New England. You know, he just came to me, I was there with him, he said, that's not going to pass the pneumatic system, the hydrostatic test. I said, okay, great. I just heard budget, money symbols in money signs in my head, like, okay, well, what is that, you need to tell me what that looks like. And he said, okay, well, you know, $150,000 each school, whatever it may be at that time. I said, okay, so we take that, and we think, what is the best course to go forward? Do we spend that money now, stay on oil for the next 10, 20, 30 years, or do we look at something else? But at the end of the day, instead of just saying, we're not gonna worry about it, you know what, we might pass it, you know, maybe you're not right. Maybe we get a second opinion, whatever that may be. Or we can hit it head on and, you know, deal with the situation at hand. And that's what I always try to do, and that is the gist of it. Because we are trying to go in this direction, this vision, so that's what, you know, our new boilers, whatever that may look like, that's how it all presented itself. And that's basically it. We are tackling a problem before it becomes a catastrophic problem. Because, you know, the state could come down and say, you've known about this for 2 years. It's like, yeah, we did. Why didn't you do anything about it 2 years ago? Well, we didn't think, we thought we went for, we hope for the best, whatever it may be. I don't think they're gonna like that answer. So that's,
I just wanna make sure you understand, Lance.
Mhm.
When it was brought forth, and the immediate reaction was support for addressing it. And you don't get to see the reaction because you're not there, but the level of appreciation for your concern and for the heads up was there. What happened is, unfortunately, the decision process of how to address it was done in a way that was not clear to the public, and as a result, there were a lot more questions raised than could be answered in the time frame.
Okay.
So there was never any dispute that it was the right thing to do. It's not a if, it's a how. It wasn't a when, and it wasn't an if.
Yeah.
It's just a how. And the perception that we got was that after talking with the state and talking with you and your support group, was that it was reasonably safe to take one step back to allow us to just dig a little deeper on the how, because of the fact that any decision that we make on this is a long-term decision, short of the
Correct.
Band-Aid, short of the
100%.
Band-Aid.
yep,
So we just want to make sure that when we're doing that long-term investment,
Mhm.
where everyone's on board and we've got all the stakeholders, because the last thing you want
Right.
to do is put something through and be faced with a hiccup or unexpected, all of a sudden some little cost, and all of a sudden you get all the people saying, "I told you so," and then no matter what you do, you can't win. So we're just trying to avoid that catastrophe. But there was never any question about the value of knowing it early and the fact that this has to be addressed. And it wasn't until we got input that delaying it for the one budget cycle did not put us in extreme jeopardy.
right,
And Kelly's and Andy's insistence that the money be budgeted for the Plan B,
right,
that the voting body ultimately made the decision to postpone it 1 year. But
right,
I can't overemphasize the degree to which the work that you're doing, as it's conveyed to the board and the public, is not only valued and appreciated, but brings about amazement. You have quite a fan club.
well, I appreciate that, but yeah, I just wanted to make that clear. We take this stuff very seriously, and I just, I appreciate you saying that. That's a very nice thing to say, Tom.
Kelly will tell you, we've always been chasing this stuff.
Yeah,
With you and the other members of the SAU leadership team working as they are, Kelly gets a lot of the credit for this as well. For the first time, I'm coming up on 19 years as a board member in SAU 41. This is the first period in my tenure that we are seriously doing planning versus reacting.
right. That's a great point. I failed to mention that in the beginning, reactionary versus proactive approaches, that means the world to me. I mean, I knock on this table because, you can't catch everything. You can't plan for everything. But everything that we, humanly possibly can do, we try to do. So,
I would even say that, what I got from a lot of questions, and people were asking questions, they were okay with risking a $300,000 cost this year to get it right, to make sure all of the questions were answered, because there were things about solar and heat pumps and questions, there were a lot of things. And I think, I'm trying to remember who it was that said, let's table it for a year, let's get a lot more questions asked, a lot more answers to
Right.
the questions.
Which is
So-
what we're doing.
Right, so,
Right.
do either of the three of you want to kind of expand on that a little bit about the board action that was taken and kind of the directionally how we get
There,
a plan?
last night, there was a proposal brought forth to form a facilities committee. It's in the board packet that was redistributed by Darlene earlier today. In short, it's going to have representation from the administration, from the boards, and we added in some additional community participation, expanded the community side of it. Rob Mann is going to be heading up the committee, in large part due to his experiences with similar work done in the Hollis School District, as far as the process, not necessarily the end product. And the deliverable is an action plan by the December meeting in time for it to become part of the formal budget going forth. There will be at least monthly updates that come out through the reporting to the board. There will be formal postings of the meetings. There will be minutes. So this is going to be a clear and well-publicized activity. I believe you've been volunteered as a committee member,
Oh, 100%, yep.
and there will be representation from an outside party of the committee's choosing, whether it's the same individual that assisted last year or not. That's the committee's choice.
Perfect.
Yeah, so it is an 11-member committee. It does include a member of the Budget Committee. And the distribution is like a Hollis and Brookline School Board member, 3 administrators, a co-op Budget Committee member, the subject matter expert that Tom just mentioned, a selectman from each town, and a community member from each town. So I know we don't have a full board this evening, but if anyone here has an interest in participating, I'll put a quick note out to everybody tomorrow, just to kind of let everybody else know that there is, something to consider, and based on the responses that I get, I can appoint somebody to the committee. So I'm not sure if, I don't know, are you going to be the Brookline member on it, or to be determined?
Both Beth and Kate felt that it was unlikely that they could participate. I don't know what my status, I was going to find out a little bit more.
Yep.
We're just going to talk about it offline.
Yeah. So we'll leave it at that. I mean, if either of you have an interest or
interested.
just, you're interested?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'll put Raul's name on the list. Like I said, I'll send a note out to everyone tomorrow, and we'll kind of get a name back to the board for our participation in that. There is a charter that goes with it, and it is a lot of work to kind of turn it around by even December. I mean, I know it's 6 months out, but, there's a lot to be done and reviewed.
Fortunately, a lot
so-
of work has already been done.
True. So, but I think I appreciate the process, and I think it does, just bring more attention to it, publicizes it, makes information available, so as we get closer through December and January, people can go back through, read minutes, and kind of see the evolution of whatever plan gets put forward, so. Great. Sorry, we're kind of stealing your
Oh, no,
thunder
you're-
there
you're
for the
fine,
tail
you're
end
fine.
of the
I don't-
presentation.
I don't mind.
but-
This is just the end, the big ticket items. the
Are they
future.
prioritized in some sort of manner, or is it just random?
No, random.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried to group this as much as I could, just so I wasn't talking all over the place. So.
You know, I have to say, I appreciate like the planning that goes into, spreading over 5 years, some of the projects like the door replacements and things like that. But sometimes I have to say, I see numbers like, oh, 3,000 a year, like, geez, could we just do 15,000 and get it done? So I appreciate, like if we just did 15,000 and got that one done, we shifted one other one out a year and do the whole thing. But I appreciate the spreading it out so that it makes it easier from a budgeting perspective and you kind of make progress along the way. But sometimes you just see those numbers and you're like, oh,
So along
just
those
let's get
lines,
this done,
Oh, I
you know?
know,
So it is a
believe me.
hard, balance to
Right,
see.
and especially when a lot of them have the same priority, the same need. It's like
Exactly.
you have to pick,
Right.
or we can do it in phases.
Right,
so along those lines, if it was me, I like the idea of showing charts, like the first line you showed today said complete. After you get the prioritization, you should look back and say, is there anything I can do to maybe put ahead of the line that would allow it to be complete? You know what I mean? Because you
Well-
gotta start showing successes along the way as well.
Well, we are.
But that's all we've done.
No, but what I'm basically saying is, the numerical process you chose will give you a list. But then you gotta look at it and say, okay, maybe I'm just gonna focus on the top 10. You know what I mean? Because that's what I can afford, right? And so therefore,
Could.
you could do that, or maybe I could do, okay, out of the top 10, I'm gonna go from cheapest to most expensive one. So I guess you could add some level of additional judgment
Right.
to come up with perhaps a refinement, an initial refinement on what you have already. That's kind of
No,
what
I
I'm saying.
understand what you're saying, but up until, I think we're starting to get into an area that we could do more of that, but it was more like you have 25 things that all need to be done yesterday. So that's how we started doing the phase-in approach, or the
Right.
phased approach.
right. See,
So we are starting to get to a point, because we've done so much, that we might be able to look at it that way.
Okay.
So I don't wanna compare districts, but like in Hollis, our facility audit tool budgeting is smaller than the co-op because we've done a lot of work over there. So we almost look for stuff, that we can improve that doesn't necessarily need to be improved,
Yeah, they had a slightly different approach to,
Right.
kind of things that would fall on an audit tool scale by putting out another bond that collapsed a lot of those items.
Yeah.
And that was the way to make progress and move forward. So it
Right.
was like a slightly different approach. You have a different community and, voting population that, welcomed seeing those items consolidated and things like that, so.
Yeah, their facility audit tool versus, it's like night and day.
Right.
They're number, it's like, we often tell the supervisors, like, I look at it, I go, no, yeah, I mean, we are great, in that building, in those buildings. So I always second guess myself when I look at those, like, okay, no, yeah, I mean, we're good. But,
I have a question about the NPR lighting.
mhm.
When the current lighting was supposedly part of a contract, have we paid it off already, do you know?
I thought we had gone through it was like a credit to our electric bill or something like that.
Yeah, it was, but we didn't see the impact of the supposed energy savings that were promised by the lights until it paid it off, and then we would start reaping the benefit.
Right,
Have we been reaping the benefit?
I don't know that we've looked at it.
Because if we're still in the mode where we're not seeing the benefit because it's still back paying for it, I don't know that we can just walk out of that without having to pay a chunk of money.
Right.
That's number one. Number two is that is the LED technology, which I'm assuming is what will be used, sufficiently sufficient cost improvement to make up for the cost of installation, because these were supposedly the best in their day when we installed them.
That's what I've been told as well, from prior people, have been here, a long time. And I know we went around with the Hollis Energy, Committee years ago, and those came up as, huge energy,
The middle school ones?
the middle school
Because the
ones.
high school ones we know are.
Well, the high school ones are all, we have the same lights in the NPR here as we do in the auditorium.
The gym in the high school is not the same technology as the MPR room.
No, the gym in the high school is brand new LEDs.
Oh, it is? We
High
did switch
school?
those over?
Yep.
Yeah, that was part of
Yep.
that.
Because
the
those
whole
were the
energy
big
plan.
power hogs.
Oh, yeah, I would say these NPR
And they
ones
took
are-
a half hour to turn on too.
Right.
But the NPR lights were supposedly a 75% reduction or something of that
Right,
nature
I remember
relative
that.
to what was
What they
there
made, what
prior.
they were, okay.
Yeah,
Possibly, yeah.
We had an energy consultant come in, do an audit,
Wow.
and they put together a finance plan in conjunction with Eversource maybe,
Yeah,
to replace those lights at no cost to the school with, with a split of the savings so that our bill stayed level. It reimbursed the upgrade cost, and I thought it was going to be it was estimated somewhere between 7 to 10 years after that, they'd be fully paid off, at which point we would see a dramatic reduction in our bill because of that.
We have to be coming close to that,
yeah,
Tom,
I'll have to
yeah.
do some research on that.
I don't remember, was it during Andy's tenure that we did it, or was it
No,
with Susan?
I think it was,
with
well,
It was
it might
either
have been right
John?
when,
Because we had John for a
it
year.
might have been John, it was somewhere in
I'd
that.
have to go back.
Yeah.
But Andy's
It's when
9
we
years.
used to meet down there.
Andy's 9 years now, so.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah, wow.
It might have been right when he started or a year
So,
before
yeah,
that.
please look
Yeah.
into that, because that's a real question mark in
Yeah,
my
I'd
mind.
forgotten about some of that, yeah.
And 10 years ago, the technology wasn't there. LED
Yeah, it was, I don't know if it was a xenon or whether it was a different halogen,
Yeah.
but it was a low energy, source, and it was not a traditional incandescent technology, so the driver source was much lower wattage.
Well, great, well, thank you so much.
I was waiting for Raul to give me the.
No,
No questions? I've been waiting.
We'll follow up. If any come up, we'll follow
the
up.
chair, sent,
I'm looking at the time, it's
they-
8
they-
o'clock.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We
I
haven't
muzzled-
missed an
I didn't
a
wanna talk
2-hour,
too long. I
The
8:30
chair took control of the
conclusion.
situation, and I think, we're gonna move forward.
We need to move forward. It's
Yes.
8 o'clock. I don't know that we have that much more, but I am determined that we continue to meet our 2-hour meeting timeline.
I totally agree with that sentiment.
So, any follow-up items, please send them my way. I can coordinate anyone's questions, and I know that Kelly and Lance are available to address any concerns that we have. And I know we'll get into it in greater detail as a result of the committee that's been formed
very
and the
much.
planning for the
Thank you all
project,
for
so.
having me.
It was fun.
Yeah, 100%.
So Kelly, we're gonna move on to, the financial overview.
Sure. Excuse me, the revenue expense report that you received in your packet shows us dropping a little bit in the fund balance world. We were at
Is
four.
it the same one Linda gave us last night?
Yes, yes. We were at about 456, something like that, thousand last month, and now we're at 330. I don't think there's any one big thing, but several reasons for that. So, and what in May, I had given the board a memo and asked them to consider a couple of things between that May meeting and the June meeting that they might want to consider funding if we had the funds. And so this month, those same things came up, and I think I told you guys about it before. It was the, yes, I wrote
So, yeah,
high
these
school,
items
it's
were
middle school.
included in the board packet that I sent out earlier today.
Okay, so then you have the dugouts, which is an estimated cost of, that was the bid that we received back was $30K. The middle school main entrance, which Lance talked about on the facilities overview, and that's a cost of $120K. We have exterior cameras at the middle school, that estimate is $26K, and additional interactive flat panels for both the high school and the middle school, and that's, would be 6 that we're looking at, and that's about a $30K expense as well. So, the school board did agree to fund these. The dugouts will be funded by the Athletic Capital Reserve Fund, and the other 3 will be funded by the unreserved fund balance, with the caveat that we maintain the $200,000 to the town that we have budgeted for. So I don't know, Tom, if you want to expand on that at all.
The only thing I will add is that there is the prospect of a donation of materials for the dugout. So we are hopeful that we may get, of that amount of money that's in there, the estimate is that materials will be something of under $10,000. And there is someone who has potentially offered to supply the materials at no cost to the district, but we're waiting to get the materials list from the contractor. So we approved the contract, awarding of the contract for up to $30,000, contingent upon receiving materials list in advance and not beginning any work until we've determined if we can get those materials donated. So the 30 is a not to exceed.
Great.
And then the other thing the school board did as well is we had a public hearing for the use of the maintenance expendable trust. And they did approve the amount we've requested, which was $376,200. And that includes the roof section that we talked about, the 2 roof sections, because we didn't do FY23, so we're doing FY23 and FY24. And then the road paving, the student dirt lot, and then in the front area, there's some pieces that need to be repaired and paved there. Our kitchen renovations, there's about $40,000 that are of ineligible costs for the spend down plans, so that will be funded by the maintenance trust. In the middle school, we have flooring in several locations. We also have that $10,000 in HVAC upgrades to hopefully complete what we've started in this year. And then the elevator will be replaced, probably not this summer, but as soon as we can. It's
Is it middle school or high school?
the middle school. And so that, we already had $43,000 on reserve. So I've got that 43, plus I've added a little more just because there's some construction that we're gonna have to do that we didn't necessarily.
A little more.
Huh?
You had 68 more to.
Well, but of that 68, 43 is already in reserve.
Oh, that's not how it was explained to us, that the cost is over 100 and that it was 68 plus 43.
No,
That's what was explained to us last night, is that we were spending an additional 68.
no. We hope we're not spending that much. Right now, we should be able to do the entire project for $68,000.
Okay. That changes the math then, doesn't it? Because the 376 includes 68, correct?
Yes.
But if we've already got 43, then the 376 should
Well,
be reduced.
The
No,
the
no, no.
43 is coming kind of from the baseline
Yes.
amount.
The math works out.
I
It
thought
wasn't
43
an additional, like the 25 was the additional allocation because we had already had 43 in the baseline.
That's correct. So I have been
So
holding
it's not in
that.
trust then? So it's not in trust?
It is in the
It is.
trust, and I've been holding it back when I talk about available balance, so it was restricted, let's say. So now I've let that money go, so when you're looking at the current balance, that
Okay.
has been
Okay.
unrestricted
That,
now.
when it was explained last night, it was explained as additive amounts
Okay,
because they were
well, I
talking about it being
apologize.
close to
I apologize for
$100,000.
that. No, it should
I
be.
mean, over 100,000.
We are hoping it's 68.
Okay.
And no,
So
and no more.
that's full replacement?
Yes, but this is a different kind of elevator.
No, I just-
Yeah, it's
okay.
it's more like, I don't know if you know what a Lulu lift is, but
Yeah.
it's more like that than it is the kind that's at the high school.
Okay.
I could talk about elevators all night, but I don't want to be here.
Please don't.
So let me get the general understanding here. The 1207, which is under spent, hasn't been spent, will be reduced to
1207.
roughly
Oh, okay.
400,000 or 300.
Okay, say that again, now that I know what you're talking about. The
Yeah.
1207 is what?
Okay, so the 1280 becomes, all right. And then these are things that are already been approved.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so
that went
then
through the
that
budget
becomes
process.
330, and then the 330,
So these amounts come from the.
We're committing to have at least 200K left when all's said and done.
I understand.
Right.
But there's a difference between 200 and 330, so is there any?
Yeah, the difference is what I just
So
described.
what you just described, it goes toward, from that
Yes.
330 to 200, okay,
Yes,
thank you.
So what's happening is to get that, because the difference is greater than that, if everything comes in at max, then the likely retained fund balance
Right,
will be
yeah.
lower.
That's,
And that's, we don't do until August.
Right.
right, that's the next thing.
And the retained fund balance you have identified in this view is a 2% view as opposed to a 2.5, which is the
Correct.
maximum.
Yes, I didn't think.
And it may not even be the 2 by the time the board is.
Right,
done,
right. I
so.
mean, I think in your motion, you said a max of 300,000. I mean, we could not reduce it below 300,000 if I heard that correctly. Is that right or wrong? The retained fund balance.
We did not,
Oh, I thought that's
we did
what
not,
the motion
we
said.
did not
Okay.
address that.
Okay.
Because we talked about what should we do, and they wanted to postpone any conversation on that until August, till all the
Okay, I
numbers are
understand.
settled.
Okay, so it's likely, well, not likely, it could be that the 398,000 that we have as a retained fund balance will be less.
And just to kind of, there'll be more information on this in August, but with regard to funds returning to taxpayer and things like that, the state budget did pass, and in it is a revised adequacy calculation. There are preliminary amounts right now, but it does boil down to a larger baseline cost per, amount per student that's gonna be allocated. So there were other puts and takes to the adequacy formula. That will be resolved, but essentially, there will be a higher adequacy amount than what we were estimating as we went through the budget process. But I don't, we're not gonna make any estimates or promises of what that means, but it will be higher than what we estimated when we went through. The cycle, what I'll do over the summer is look at some of the components of the legislation that passed, see if, like the NHRS, the state funding of part of NHRS may have become permanent, and would continue to be like a rebate to the district and things like that. So we'll see what ended up kind of passing and not passing. But at least it was nice to see that for the way the budget kind of went was the governor made one recommendation that was a significant increase to adequacy. The House came back and said, well, we'll increase adequacy, but not by as much as the governor. And the Senate came in kind of between the two. So, it includes, since it was a annual budget, it includes like an inflation adjustment into the second year. And so it's something that'll be in place over like for a 2-year period.
Do you know when
We'll
it's
see.
likely to be resolved? Do you know when it's likely to be resolved?
It has been resolved.
Oh,
They accepted it. They didn't go back and renegotiate the Senate plan.
So they went with the Senate plan?
They went with the Senate plan. So there's more, information that'll be available on that. I'm sure there'll be some like overviews of the adequacy calculation on that and presentations that we can hopefully share later, but that was just kind of the latest, so I wanted to kind of put that out there. Okay. Any other
That's
questions?
all I have.
Okay. Tom?
Most of the important stuff you have heard. Couple of interesting things. We did have some late and some unexpected staff resignations.
That's unfortunate.
And we also have some really good hires coming in. So it was a little bit disappointing. It's unclear what that message is. A significant part of it is people who are leaving education. We had two significant losses who are, for the time being, getting out of teaching. The letters of resignation expressed the need to do it for personal and family reasons. It's unclear whether that's financial or quality of life or whatever, but I think it's important that we recognize that we have not seen the end of the shift in people's prioritization, and education for many of tends to be in the maths and sciences. These people are able to go into industry and commercial areas for dramatic compensation differences. There's nothing we can do about that.
So, since they were kind of late in the process and later notification in the school year, or have we been able to find replacements yet, or
We
or
have-
just kind of have our
We have two.
the pipeline looks positive?
We had two openings for full-time in the math department, and one of them was filled. And one of the losses was in the science department, and we had a hire for that, so. that was
And one of
good.
those resignations just literally happened, so.
Yeah.
So, the other thing I just wanted to update you on, I think I sent you an email
did.
about NHSBA, but
You did.
I wanted to wait until I had talked to the board. I contacted NHSBA about the status of including budget committee members in NHSBA activities. And the feedback I got was that they do not add budget committee members to their official roster and mailing list just because of the logistics of turnover of people. They have enough of a difficult time even keeping up with school board members and keeping their list active. However, they have no objections whatsoever to forwarding of their emails. So my plan going forward will be, when I get emails from NHSBA that talk about things like legislative updates and that, to forward them to the Budget Committee chairperson to distribute to the committee. And the other thing they said is, in terms of seminars, webinars, educational activities, they have no objections to budget committee members participating in that process so long as it has the support of the school board. And I assumed that would be the case, but wanted to get the official status, and did get feedback that was supported as well. So when I get notifications of those types of activities, again, I will forward them through. Does everyone on the budget committee have an SAU 41 email address?
I do, but I don't use it.
Okay, you will need to use that address to register, because that's what will qualify you. So, when you forward stuff, you should forward it to their SAU 41
Yep.
emails, which will then position them to click on links to register, and we'll get them in the mode of using that, because that's how you will be permitted to do it, is through your SAU41.org email.
Great. Thank you. That'll be really helpful. And, I mean, I think one of the things we've realized is how important tracking the legislation is, how time-consuming it is, and it's overwhelming as sessions start and by the time they get to the end. So that information will be really helpful. So thank you.
That's all I have, and we are meeting the board is meeting in July. We don't take a month off.
Okay. We do take off July, and our next meeting would be August 24th. We usually have our auditor present at that point. By then, this year's audit is concluded, but Tim Green usually comes and talks about the latest audit that was completed with an audit report, which isn't available yet by the end
Well,
of
it
August.
is actually, I need to get that.
No,
to
I
you.
meant,
Oh.
I meant the one for the August
Oh,
isn't
right,
available.
right.
But yeah, the one for last year is available
Yep, I can send that
now.
out, yeah.
And we can spend the summer reviewing that prior to the
How
August meeting. So that's really all that I have, we have on the agenda itself by way of kind of topics and follow-up. So I don't know if anyone has anything else they wanted to discuss tonight. If you do come up with any, I can think of a couple things I would add to the August agenda, but if we do come up with anything over the summer that you think we should put our attention toward for the August meeting, that would be appreciated, so. Okay, we made up for it. It's 8:20. I'll look to Raul as our process observer.
This was a very lively meeting.
For the
And believe it or not, it probably
barely
went a
made the
little
quorum.
longer than I thought, but it was a good meeting. And I think we're ready to leave here.
So I do, Lance, again, want to thank you and Kelly, both of you, for the time and attention that goes. I think, implementing the audit tool, I think Kelly, how many years ago was that? Probably maybe 5 years ago? Was it that long?
Yeah.
4 or 5 ago?
probably,
And I think that really, does help kind of shape the landscape and things like that. And it's evolved over time, but I think it does provide that nice kind of foundation for,
Yes,
you
it's
know.
been hugely helpful for us to get our head around.
Yeah, because it
Yeah.
definitely predated Lance. And, as
Yes.
Lance, as you're here and, want to adapt it, or, I know that you'll, work on what works best as you go through it. But,
Yes,
so we do appreciate the time, especially at this time of year, as the school year's kind of, the active school year with the students is over. But I know it's a busy time for the facility staff and the administrative staff over the summer. There's a lot that takes place, and it is not quiet in the district at all. So, thank you
And if I could just say
for all of that.
just one thing, like Tom said earlier, we have an amazing leadership team here, and I'm so happy to be here, and Kelly's amazing at everything she does, and she makes my job so much easier. So I don't think I'd be here without her, so I'm very fortunate. So
Great.
I do what I do because she makes it, so much easier. So thank you.
So thanks very
Nice
much.
tan you've got there.
I guess.
And at 8:23 p.m., I'll take a motion to adjourn from Tony, seconded by Raul. All those in favor? 4-0. Enjoy the summer, everyone.